Ask me that again, Jimmy. And I walk. The laughter stopped. Johnny Depp's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It hit like a gunshot in the silence that followed. The audience, once full of giggles and whistles, now held its collective breath. Jimmy Kimmel blinked twice. He hadn't expected the question to land that hard, but there it was. And Johnny was no longer smiling. Just 5 minutes and everything had been smooth. The crowd had cheered wildly as Johnny walked onto the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live, wearing a black suit with silver chains, rings gleaming under studio lights. He looked calm, controlled, even charming. Jimmy opened with safe jokes, pirates, guitar playing, art collecting. Then the pivot came, too fast, too sharp. So, Johnny, do you ever think of writing a book about all that courtroom drama? The audience chuckled. Johnny froze. His eyes darkened. Jimmy smirked. Come on, man, the world watched it like a Netflix series. You were like the main character of Tweet 2. A few audience members laughed. A few winced. Johnny leaned forward, his voice slow, deliberate. Did you ask me here to talk about my work or to relive a circus? Jimmy raised his eyebrows. Just teasing, buddy. It's what late night does. We poke, we laugh. No harm. Johnny didn't blink. To you, it's a punchline. To me, it was survival. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Camera operators glanced at producers. There was tension, palpable, heavy. Jimmy chuckled awkwardly. Okay, let's move on. But Johnny wasn't moving anywhere. Not yet. Ask me that again, Jimmy, and I walk. Jimmy tried to recover. All right, we can keep it light, so Pirates, are we talking eye patches again or what? Johnny forced a smile. Only thing I'd patch right now is your script. The audience laughed, but not comfortably. Some sensed the storm coming. Others clutched their phones already recording. Jimmy leaned back. Wow, okay, you're feisty tonight. Look, I didn't mean to bring up anything painful, but Johnny, come on. People love redemption arcs. Johnny turned his head slowly. Is that what you think it was? A redemption arc? Well, yeah, I mean, Hollywood loves a comeback. Hollywood loves blood. And when it can't get blood, it wants humiliation. There was a murmur. Johnny was spiraling, but with control, a rare, dangerous kind. I went through hell, Jimmy, not the Instagram version, the real kind. And now I'm supposed to laugh with you about it? Jimmy tried to interject. It's just a show. Supposed to be fun. Johnny stood. Then make it fun, but don't expect me to dance in your circus. The audience was no longer clapping, just watching. Phones were out. Faces were stunned. Even the band had stopped strumming. Jimmy stuttered. Johnny, seriously, sit down. Let's just reboot here. Johnny stared. Then, like a storm changing direction, he sat back down, but his eyes never left Jimmy. One more line like that, he said, and I'll flip your desk myself. A bead of sweat ran down Jimmy's temple. He laughed, but it was hollow. Come on, Johnny, you know this is just TV. We're not solving world peace here. Johnny raised an eyebrow. No, but you are staging public executions. The room tensed again. Audience members shifted, whispers floating like smoke. Phones kept recording. Clips were already hitting Twitter. Jimmy forced a grin. All right, let's pivot. You're in that new indie film, right? The one with the wolves? Let me guess, Johnny said, voice sharp. You going to ask if the wolves were easier to work with than my ex? The audience gasped. Jimmy froze. Silence, Johnny leaned in. You think this is a roast? You brought me here to entertain, not to be dissected. Jimmy sat back, defensive now. I didn't mean to offend you, I swear. But you did, and you knew you would. That's the game, right? Bring in the broken man, poke his scars, get a few laughs, and go viral. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Let him speak." Another murmured, "This is wild." Johnny turned to the audience. They don't want truth. They want trauma dressed as entertainment. Then he looked back at Jimmy. But I didn't come here for therapy. I came here thinking we'd talk art, not autopsy. Jimmy rubbed his face. He looked smaller now. Okay, Johnny, tell them. Tell them what you want. Johnny paused, looked around the room. I want you to stop using pain as punchlines. The audience clapped. Not all, but enough to be heard. Johnny stood, this time calmly. He took off his mic, handed it to the producer, and looked once more at Jimmy. You wanted a viral moment? Congratulations. And he walked off. The backstage door hadn't even closed behind Johnny before the chaos erupted. The audience was no longer sitting. They were reacting. Some booed Jimmy, others clapped for Depp. Security moved toward the edge of the stage, unsure if this was a prank or a problem. In the control room, producers barked into headsets. Cut to commercial. But it was too late. The cameras kept rolling. Jimmy stood up, visibly shaken. All right, folks, he said, trying to smile. Guess that got intense. Someone from the balcony shouted, You crossed the line! Another voice, Johnny spoke truth. The crowd had fractured. Phones were everywhere. Twitter and TikTok were already ablaze. Hashtags like @DeppLive, #Kimmel canceled, and #TalkShowMeltdown were trending in under 4 minutes. Backstage, Johnny stormed past staff and cameras. Someone tried to stop him. Mr. Depp, please, we can clean this up in editing. He turned sharply. Don't you dare edit truth. He pushed open a side door and vanished into the night, leather boots echoing down the hallway. Inside, Jimmy tried to regain control. We have a musical guest coming up. The audience didn't care. Some stood to leave. Others chanted, apologize, apologize. A close-up shot showed Jimmy wiping his face with a cue card. Back in the control room, the director muttered, We're not saving this. We're documenting a crash. Meanwhile, YouTube clips titled, Johnny Depp Destroys Jimmy Kimmel racked up hundreds of thousands of views. A still of Johnny standing, mic in hand, stared down the algorithm like a challenge. Backstage footage leaked. Depp refusing PR handlers. Telling them, let it burn. I'm done cleaning their messes. And in the center of it all, the desk where Jimmy Kimmel sat, cracked silence stretching longer than any punchline ever had. By sunrise, the internet was ablaze. Clips of Johnny's confrontation played on loop across every platform imaginable. Edits with dramatic music, subtitles, slow-motion close-ups. Headlines read like battle reports. Depp walks off live. Kimmel breakdown. When late night crossed the line. The ratings for the episode shattered records. But the praise didn't go to the host. Jimmy released a statement that morning. Last night's show took an unexpected turn. I want to say publicly I regret the way things went. I've spoken to Johnny personally and hope to move forward with respect. But Depp hadn't spoken to him. Not yet. Maybe never. Instead, Johnny posted a single message to Instagram. There's nothing entertaining about pain, and there's nothing brave about mocking it. The post hit 2 million likes in under 2 hours. Talk shows scrambled. Other hosts pulled segments from their monologues, terrified of being next. One host opened with, "Tonight we poke fun at nobody, not after last night." Late night had changed overnight. Johnny disappeared from the spotlight for a few days. No comments, no clarifications, just silence. Then, without warning, a black and white teaser trailer dropped on his official channel. A piano played. A voiceover began. "They told me I was a story, a punchline, a plot twist, but I'm not here to be told. I'm here to tell." Title card, "The Unscripted Truth," a film by Johnny Depp. Internet detonated. Comment sections were war zones. Kimmel supporters claimed overreaction. Depp defenders praised his grace. Celebrities lined up to weigh in. From Zendaya to Joaquin Phoenix, everyone had a side. Producers from Kimmel's show remained silent, but sources leaked that staff were under internal review. Meanwhile, Depp's name became a symbol, not just of celebrity rebellion, but of boundaries, ownership, and reclaiming narrative. 2 weeks later, he returned, not to a stage, but to a small podcast hosted by an unknown war veteran. The episode titled "Real Talk, No Scripts." And when asked why he chose that show over everything else, Johnny simply said, "Because no one here is waiting to laugh at me, see." That line viral again, because in an age of curated drama, Johnny didn't just walk off a stage, he redefined it.